Madam President, here we are, beginning of a new year, with a new Congress, and I think we all feel the responsibility to do what the American people voted for the November 2014 election. And that is to come together in this body and in this Congress and work together to find sensible solutions to very real problems facing Americans, impacting their lives. It's no secret that the last 6 years have been pretty tough for a lot of people. Out of work or doing part-time work, kids graduating from high school, graduating from college, graduating from community schools, two-year schools, going back, getting new training, still unable to find meaningful jobs. Finding jobs that are part-time, doing 2 or 3 of those together. Parents trying to, 2 workers out there try to save money, pay the mortgage, save money to send the kids to school, postgraduate. It has not been easy. And so when we come to a point where we have legislation here in a new session of Congress with commitments on a bipartisan basis to stand together, to work together, to try to find solutions, to get people back to work and get our economy moving again, we come to the very first thing that's up for discussion, debate, and hopefully passage in this new Congress, and that is the Keystone Pipeline. Now, this is something that has been going on for the President has been obstinate in his obstruction in letting this go forward, in making a decision, but yet here we are finally with an opportunity to not only pass legislation in the House of Representatives, which has been passed repeatedly, and just again last week with a very significant bipartisan support. Here we have the opportunity now in the Senate to take this legislation up, to move it forward tonight with this vote, to start the process, to allow amendments, to allow debate, to move forward, and hopefully with a bipartisan support of over 60, and then support on final passage, sending it to the President for hopefully signing. This project, it's the largest ready-to-build infrastructure project in the United States. It supports tens of thousands of jobs. The estimate has been well over 42,000. It invests billions of dollars in the American economy. It increases revenue to states and local governments, all without spending one dime of taxpayer money. This is a private sector initiative that can be of great benefit to our country, can provide meaningful jobs, and has many, many benefits for us in the future. It's supported by Democrats, by Republicans, by many, number of labor unions. For instance, the Indiana State Building and Construction Trades Council, which represents 75,000 working Hoosiers in my state, reached out to me recently and asked me to support construction of the Keystone Pipeline, calling it, and I quote, an important job creation and energy security issue. And they're right on the mark. They knew I had been a long-time supporter of this effort, but they wanted to put in, I'm not sure necessarily, and they weren't weighing this on the basis of Republican or Democrat, liberal or conservative. They were saying, this is good for us. I hope both of our senators can support it. We hope that it passes. This is something that puts our people to work. Other labor unions, including the North American Building Trades Union and Labor's International Union of North America, support this project. Now, I mentioned that President, for 6 years, has come up with ever more feeble excuses in terms of why he believes this should not go forward. The last excuse was, well, we're in a process here, and the process has to go forward. Well, that process was apparently waiting on the Nebraska Supreme Court state approval of the pipeline route through Nebraska. And that was the excuse, well, we got to veto it. Well, Mr. President, I'm sure you now have the word that the Nebraska Supreme Court has upheld state approval of Keystone Pipeline. In fact, the President's own State Department, in response to numerous calls for environmental studies, all of which was used as an excuse for not going forward. The President's own State Department has repeatedly approved this, saying it will not have a negative environmental imprint. So what could possibly be the reason why the President remains intransigent on this particular issue? You have to come down, because every other box has been checked, you have to come down to the inevitable conclusion that it's all political, that an extreme environmental wing of the President's own party is simply putting pressure on him, apparently, not to go forward with anything having to do with fossil fuels or providing energy security for America from our own resources. After all, much of this comes, a significant portion of this comes from Montana and North Dakota. Last I checked, they were in the United States, and from our friendly neighbor to the north, Canada. Now, we can keep importing, if this doesn't go through, we will keep importing nearly 1 million barrels a day of oil from the Middle East. And we know what complications exist there in terms of securing that oil and how much volatility occurs there based on what's happening today in the Middle East. So, getting this product, not only from our states, northern states, North Dakota and Montana, and getting this product from our friend to the north, Canada, simply makes a great deal of sense in terms of our energy security, energy supplies, and our lessening our reliance on the volatility that comes from getting oil from other sources. To conclude, let me just make it clear here what we're trying to do. This will help the United States diversify its energy supply. It will offset our dependence on Middle East oil. It will support tens of thousands of American jobs during construction. It will invest billions of dollars in the American economy. It will increase revenue to state and local governments, and it will not harm our environment, as numerous studies have indicated, all without spending a dime of taxpayer money. So after 6 years of delay, procrastination, and ever more feeble excuses, it's time for the President to make a decision. Soon he will have an opportunity to use that pen he so famously talked about, not to sign a veto or declare a veto, but to sign a bill approving the Keystone pipeline into law. I strongly support construction of this pipeline and urge my colleagues to do the same. And with that, yield the floor and notice the absence of